Hi there, Sarah. I'm so glad that we're here talking about good energy. It's sort of the mission of the day is to talk about good energy. And I just wanted to start out with talking about how you actually began this whole good energy club and how you see yourself carrying that energy and teaching people about that energy. Just tell me where that whole thing started.
Yeah, well, Susan, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talking about the Good Energy Club. I really grew up under this illusion that I was a good energy person just naturally. I've always had that bubbly personality, that positive point of view on life, and people just would say, "Oh, Sarah, she's an extrovert. She's happy-go-lucky." And most of my life growing up, I felt that way. And then in 2018, I had a child, my son, and then before he was 1 year old, I got pregnant with twins. And
Mm.
so I went from being a childless, I was close to 30. I would think I was 30 when I got pregnant. So, a little later in life, sort of. It's not like I was in my early 20s. So I have all of a sudden, I go from 0 children to 3 children, two and under. And then the pandemic hit because my twins were born in 2019. And then all of a sudden, I've got three babies and it's 2020 and we're sort of trapped in our house. And all of the things that I was used to, who I
Mm.
was, what I was doing, stopped happening. And it didn't happen quickly, but I slowly noticed a difference in my demeanor. That happy-go-lucky, bubbly personality of mine started to slowly sink away. And realized I wasn't myself. I was this kind of grump of a person, a shell of who I used to be. I just was showing up in my family in ways that I wasn't proud of. I had a really short temper. I would wake up
Mm.
just feeling heavy, like that dark cloud energy. And it was kind of with me everywhere I would go. I would try to put on sort of this like fake happiness when I was out doing work, but I was really just feeling this different person. And I got to this point where I thought, like, what happened? I was a good energy person. I was a good personality person, and now I'm not. How do I get it back?
Mm.
And so it was talking with my husband, him just sort of suggesting, you need time out of the house. You need to go see friends. You need to not just be working or with the kids. You need
Mm.
to go be social. And for me, that was a pivotal moment of like, okay, I'll try it. And that started to help a little bit. And I am a coach and I was running a business utilizing CliftonStrengths, helping teams and leaders get the best out of their people. And so as I was doing that, of course, then I start to think, what is it behind this? How can I tap into more good energy?
Mm. Mhm.
Because this was supposed to be who I was. But I work with people who are high achievers, who are high analytical. Their personality isn't the good energy person, but the energy they bring to a room makes a huge difference in the
Mhm.
opportunities they
Mhm.
get in a room. And so I just really went down a rabbit hole to figure out
Mm.
how do we unlock good energy for when we need it, whether it's a lifestyle we want to live every day where we are people who show up with that good energy, or we just need it because we've got a big job interview.
Mm.
So we've got to lock into some better energy because I truly think your energy impacts the outcomes you get in this world.
Yeah.
It attracts your opportunities. So I just went down this investigative rabbit hole of my own to figure out how can I help my clients? How can I help myself? How can I help my friends tap into good energy when they want to? And
Mhm.
that's really where the Good Energy Club came from. And then the Spark system, which is sort of the formula, if you will, of
Uh-huh.
what we do to create good energy.
Mhm. Yeah, so let me go back because you said some really important things and I want to like
Yeah.
tease them out. Um, so you noticed the good energy shift into the grumpy energy shift in your body, in yourself. Did you notice it like sometimes that you would go start your day and that everyone would kind of contagiously be in your bad energy thing and that everything would go worse and it just was a spiraling down? Is that how you noticed it also externally and internally like that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
You set the tone in your house, and at this point in time I was primarily a stay-at-home mom. I was working 2 days a week, but I was staying home and we weren't leaving a lot because it was the pandemic.
Right.
And you get to this point where you're just like, why even get dressed today?
Right.
Like we're
Right.
not even gonna leave the house. Why even take a shower
Right.
and put myself together? And then I am just waking up to the children and then they are responding to my grumpy energy. And so it's like attracts like. And so I was giving a ton of grumpy energy
Right.
to
So
my
at that
family.
moment, like it's great that you had strategies to go outside and sort of have a plan. But
Right.
I wonder in that moment, like how did you do that shift, like when you noticed it? Because I think that is right. That is exactly right. Like energy attracts like energy. So even if
Hmm.
we leave the house and we're going out and we're like, okay, couldn't find a parking spot in traffic, that person just cut me off. Like we start really just like pulling the negative to us, right? So
Yes.
at that moment, like when you started to notice, like you might have
Hmm.
woken up and said like, "Ugh, this day," and I don't even want to get
Yeah.
out of my pajamas. But what would you do inside your head to notice and change or take action?
Well, to be honest with you, I think this looks different for everyone
Mm.
depending on your makeup, on your talents, on your introvert versus extrovert scale. And I'm an extreme extrovert. So I could not start in my own head alone in my house. It had to be outside. So honestly, my husband telling me you need to take every Friday night and go do something with other people that are not in this
Mm.
house was
Yeah.
the catalyst for me because it had to be outside of me for the
And then it
spark
ricocheted
to
in.
hit.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
I needed something to look forward
Hmm.
to. And
Yeah.
as an extrovert, we are energized by people. So
Right.
for me, I had to have that connection. I had to start having fun with people outside of my house. The truth of it is, for me, the people in my house were not going to help me.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Right.
once it didn't take very long, even that first one, having something to look forward to, having that little bit of a charge, that spark in my system,
Mm-hmm.
then that helped me notice the day to day of being like, okay, we're waking up today. Let's start it differently.
Yeah.
And for me, when my kids were little, there were so many times where I would just be like, well, we have to do these things. We have to eat breakfast. We have to get dressed. It was just a to-do list I was ticking through. All of a sudden I had to start thinking, what happens if we just connect more? What happens if we allow ourselves to I can sit with them and talk to them about what they're doing? And I don't have to make it feel like a checklist of things to get done, but actually a connection portal. And what would it look like if just for an
Mm-hmm.
hour we let ourselves have a little fun? And I
Yeah.
didn't worry about
Connection
the
portal is
mess.
such a great word. So it's like
Yeah,
instead of and drop the agenda and just do the connection portal. Like, how am I going to connect with this person? I think I talked
exactly.
to you earlier outside. This is the February month where I feel like people really reflect on their relationships, not only their
Mm-hmm.
relationships if they're in partnership, but just their relationships in life, like what brings them joy, what brings them happiness. And I think that whole thought of like sometimes if you go off with a friend or you go off on a date night or whatever it is, that if that starts, that energy drops. I always think about you have two people there, how are you going to pull it back up? But this energy
Yeah,
portal idea is like, let's just drop the agenda and just try to connect.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Okay. And have
exactly.
fun. Hmm.
And
Or
have
just like
fun.
do something, that's easy, light, airy.
Yes. I heard this thing, of course, on the internet somewhere where it was talking about married couples or people in romantic relationship and
Hmm.
saying the best thing you can do is not sit and talk about your marriage problems and sit and talk about how hard your relationship is and just kind of get into it and try to solve it. The best way to connect is to go out and have fun with each other. Doing
Yeah.
something more fun is actually going to connect you more than sitting down trying to hash out, okay, here's why you're really irritating me lately. Sort of like, yes, of course, there can be a time and place for that. I'm not saying we should always ignore that, but I do think
Right.
there's something to that. Like, there's something to just connecting with people and having a fun experience can be more bonding than trying to solve all of your connection issues.
Yeah, I mean, talking about your couple problems is definitely going to be a disconnector and an aggravator, right? Instead of like,
Yeah.
okay, there'll be a time for that, but it's not this time. This time is an energizing
Yeah.
time. This time is to give us that resilience to like, we'll look at the harder stuff because we know our base is still there, right?
Exactly. And to
Mhm.
enjoy the person, to say, oh,
Right,
wow, this is why I love you. Because
right.
I think when you get into a spiral of whether, and it can be your romantic partner, it could be one of
Mhm.
your parents or your own children or your friends. If you're constantly evaluating what works and what doesn't about this relationship, you're not actually in the relationship. You're kind of looking at the relationship from the
Right.
outside point of view. What
Yeah.
is it to just be inside of it and say, what do I love about you? What do I love doing with you? What is
Mhm.
so great
Mhm.
about this? And just being in that connection portal, having those experiences where you're actually in it with people. And I think that's so much more recharging to that
Mhm.
good energy that we're seeking than to constantly be evaluating the pros and
Right.
cons and the agendas of it all.
Right. And then I'm thinking also that you talked about you go out into your career and you're coaching people, you're giving them good energy, right? You're
Yeah.
pulling out their good energy, working on their connection with themselves and their world and how they want their world to be. And if there's always this disconnect, I think, with people in their private lives, if their private lives don't support their public lives
Yeah.
or their public persona. And I wonder if you see that a lot and try to, with other people or with yourself at times when like there's stressors in your home and then you're trying to go out and how you solve that in the moment. Because sometimes we are actually need not replenished in our family life at times, right? And we
Yeah.
still are out in the public world kind of doing our public persona. How do you bridge that gap when you know there's a deficit? Like it's
Yeah. Well,
like a household of sick kids or something like that.
yeah, it actually makes me think. So I have a client locally here, and they're a healthcare facility, and they're very busy. And I
Mm.
usually joke with people like, we're not saving lives here. Well, these people really are. Their jobs are really important. They're really saving lives in the type of work they do. And I do coaching with them. And from the outside, I see them working. I see them in the group sessions. Yes, they have these personas that, maybe not always happy go lucky, but they're showing up. They're very competent. They're very, there. And then when we go into coaching and I start talking about how they're doing, it's just like immediate tears because they have not been giving themselves that time. Because a lot of them, they do have growing families and a very demanding, high stakes career. And
Mhm.
then when we pause and I say, tell me about this, all of a sudden it's like,
Mhm.
that
Yeah, a whole different
release.
conversation starts happening.
Yeah, and that's sort of, I think what I'm hearing you say is we have to sometimes put on the strong, brave face out in the world, but what's
Hmm.
really going on in the inside. And I think that there is some of that is just the way it is, right? Sometimes you have to show up to work, you have to get paid. There's like a resiliency there. But then I try to remind people, one, a tactic I use a lot is recognition. I say all the
Hmm.
time to my clients that recognition is water, not champagne. Typically, we try to just give it on the big celebratory things, the giant achievements, the annual review. But the truth is, human beings, we need recognition every day, like water. And we need people to reflect back, to mirror back to us the
Hmm.
things we're putting out. So when I'm coaching clients, in that space specifically, that's often what I try to do is I use CliftonStrengths so I know their talents. So one thing I do is try to feed into them what I know is true. To say, you're a developer. You care so deeply about teaching the young people. Think about how that has served them, And
Hmm.
so there's a little bit of that that can bolster their self-esteem as they're
Right,
going through to realize, okay, here I'm doing this. But then we also talk about what they need and
right, right.
about what that truly looks like to fill them back up so they're not constantly running on empty. And I think for everyone it can look a little bit different.
Right.
What we talk about in the Good Energy Club, which is the Spark system, is having habits. That's our core. So it's
Hmm.
the little things that you do that add up to the big things. I'm not focused on the great big goals. I'm talking about the small things that make up your everyday because that is really what you become is the small little things that you always do. So how can we create habits around connection, which is
Hmm.
being with other people in relationship and fun, joy, having some levity, some lightness, some playfulness, and presence, which I really
Mm-hmm.
say is basically being off your phone because we are all so addicted to technology right now. Our phones, our computers, our notifications. You might be an Instagram girly, you might be an email person, you might be on your Slack all the time, but we're constantly giving our attention away to these devices that then it really robs us from connection and fun. And so these all play into each other. And so a lot of times I
Mm-hmm.
try to talk to people about not all of these at the same time, but what is just one thing you could add in? When you're feeling this way, to
Mm-hmm.
fill yourself back up, is there a way to maybe play a short game, at home or even with your staff? I think a lot of people think like we can't play games at work. Oh, sure you can. There are times you have meetings, you have breaks, you have these things. People need sometimes, especially when you have hard, heavy work, adding
Mm-hmm.
a little levity, something to bring joy in. It just fills us back up a little bit so we don't feel so down. Because it can be really hard to ask for what you need in this
Right.
world when you're completely empty and depleted and you need it desperately. It can be hard to find the courage to ask for it at that place.
Right. So I heard that earlier when you said that you feel like once you ask in your coaching sessions, they might be working on their bigger projects in their wherever they work in their work settings.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we turn towards their personal life, when you turn towards their personal life, there's not anything that's really feeding them. There's not like the feeder, there's not the appreciation, there's like not being seen maybe
Right.
in their household. So they're depleted and that depletion kind of is contagious towards their work life
Mm-hmm.
too. So what you try to do is remind them of their bigger picture, like why they do what they do, the impact they're having, all of that stuff, so they can kind of hold that themselves, right? And if we're looking
Absolutely.
at like personal relationships or intimate relationships, it's the same thing. It's like, what is the things that I love about this person, being with this person? What's our plan? What's our chapter of our lives that we're sharing? What's the reason why we're doing this? Those kinds of connectors. And then the small habits of positivity, bringing the positivity in, whether it's I don't know, sometimes there's a big movement for a while when we were all in that period of time that we were pretty isolated in, is that people would like to have these dance parties
Mm-hmm.
on their Instagram things or in their meetings that they would have. They would all get up and just like shake it out for a minute and then come back and shift the mindset, right? So it is that
Right.
mindset set shift, whatever you do to shift your mindset. So it's not so serious and it's not so distracting. But
Yeah.
so talk a little bit more about a few things that you do to help yourself be really present, because I think presence is one of the biggest keys, and we all
Mm-hmm.
have that, Nick, phone, we reach for our phone, we reach for our phone. So that's also something, I think it's getting harder and harder to break that habit, right? Because we're
Yeah.
all so attached. So tell me how you do that. And so two things, like, right? The first one is the shift back to the
Yeah.
positive, back to the fun for yourself. If you're just in an isolated place where you have to shift, like maybe you're like heading to the
Mm-hmm.
grocery store, you're heading home and you know what you're going to walk into. Or if you're also just feeling like your distraction level is really high that day. So those are like two shifts that you might
Yeah.
educate people about right now.
Well, one of the things, music is a lifesaver in terms of presence and joy and fun. And it's actually been proven that singing the words to a song that you know by heart
Oh,
can elevate your mood. So
mm,
if I was feeling like oof, it was a rough day at work and I've got to go home and turn it on for my family, but I am feeling drained,
hmm,
I would suggest finding a song that you love, that you know all the words of, that is exciting, not a downer, but one that just is more pumped up. Putting that on in the car and just letting yourself listen to the song and sing the words. It is going to bump up how you feel a little bit. Now,
yeah,
what you might be tempted to do, because Susan, you're right, we're addicted to our phones, and it gives us this dopamine little release every time we look at it. The notifications, the colors, everything on your phone is meant to addict you. So, what you could be thinking is, oh, I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling like I'm lacking energy. I'm going to go home. I'll just scroll on my phone for 5 minutes in the garage before I walk inside. That ain't going to make you feel better. It is not going to boost
Mm.
your energy. It's going to suck it out and it's just putting all of your attention on other things. And so I would say,
Yeah, it creates like confusion in your head. It doesn't create clarity or
yeah,
calmness.
yeah,
Hmm.
especially because if you're on TikTok or Instagram, you're being served like a recipe, and then you're being served like tragedy in a foreign country, and then you're being served, how to paint your walls, and then you're like you're just
Yeah, and
constantly
five
being
minutes actually turns
bombarded.
into 15 because you're caught up in it now.
Yes, and
Mhm.
it's like shortened your attention span. It's we are becoming so slaves to these devices.
Right,
And
right,
so
right.
I have taken a lot of this is a problem I have. I definitely have this and I have to fight the temptation. And so there's a few things I do. One, sometimes I turn my phone black and white. This is a setting you can go and
Mhm.
do to everything on your phone is black and white. When you do it, you will hate it. You will do it and you will think this is terrible. I don't want to do it. That is the point because when you hate it,
Mhm.
you're not going to pick up your phone as much. It is insane the way the colors on your phone
Ah,
attract so much of your brain that you want to
nice.
see it more. The notification colors, the app colors,
Mhm.
everything there is drawing you. So when you turn it black and white, there is less temptation to go on it. I always challenge people, see how long you can go. Put it on black and white and see how long you can go.
Nice. That's a
Another
great
thing
idea. Hmm.
Yes, another thing I will do is sometimes I just delete the apps that really addict me. So mine is Instagram. There are times where I will just say, I'm going to delete it. Then I can't just go there. I can't just pick it up. And if I want to get on it, I have to go and re-download it and go through the whole process. So it's not one of those just subconscious things I do right away.
Right, right.
The third thing is I was actually gifted by a friend this device called a brick. It
Ah.
is I should get a sponsorship for them because I just talk about them everywhere. But it's this little gray device and it's like this big. And you put the app on your phone and you set what apps you want to block. And then when you want to do it, you have to have that physical brick and it touches your phone and it locks down all of those apps. And to unlock it, you have to have that physical brick, which means it puts friction between it. So that brick, I put
Mhm.
it in my kitchen. When I'm in here in my office, I can't just pick up my phone and look up at Instagram. I'm like, oh, I have to walk all the way in the kitchen and get it. It just takes a little bit more thought.
Right.
There was a time where this winter I didn't want to be on social at all and I didn't want to be on all the distracting apps. So I bricked my phone and we left the house for a week. And I couldn't get back in because you cannot bypass it. And
Oh,
so I
wow.
was like,
Okay.
nothing I do is going to allow me to get into Facebook or Instagram or
Right,
TikTok or
right.
anything because I don't have the brick with me. So you could leave it at your house and go to work. And so it's a great way to just put some friction in because
Mhm.
we do things through habit. That's why habit is a core of this. And if your habit is always to wake up and look at your phone, then you need friction to stop that. So charge
Right.
your
So you
phone in
could
the
have that brick
bathroom.
somewhere in your home, so you have to go all the way there and do it. So you're not going to be just sitting in your bed and. Yeah.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So adding friction, black and white, deleting the apps, getting a brick, whatever it is,
Mhm.
friction between you and your phone is going to help create space so you're not just mindlessly picking it up
Right.
and losing hours and minutes and
Yes.
days of your life into it.
Right. So, I was talking to someone recently about like people going on date night and seeing how many people are on their phones in the restaurant, not talking to each other, and
Yeah.
just, having those moments, those times that are really sacred that you just block the phone. You just put the phone away. It's
Yes.
hard though when you have responsibilities in the world and kids and
Of
things. But
course.
if you're off the social media and you're only on the text, only on seeing like the people that might
Right.
need to reach you, that's a whole different story because you're not going to be hooked in as much to that.
Exactly. And I
Just aware
think
of that, maybe.
the Spark system is in,
Mm,
you can only do one at a time. But the thing is, they all play into each other. Because if you are practicing presence where you're not on your phone, you are open then to connection and you are more willing to have fun. And to have true fun. So, Catherine Price, she wrote this book called The Power of Fun, and she
mm,
really researched what it means to have fun, true fun, like
hmm.
laughing, like your face hurts
Belly
from having
laughs,
true
big laugh.
fun.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And hers is connection because you've almost never had true fun without other people. If you think about the
Hmm.
last time you had fun, you probably were not alone. So you
Right.
need connection, other people. You need to be in a flow state, So like time sort of you need to have the space of time to be able
Right.
to be in there,
Right.
right? And then, oh, now I'm like, okay, what is the third one? uh Connection, flow, and playfulness. You need to
Yes.
be able to be a little silly. You need
Uh-huh.
to have true fun. You need to kind of let go of your hangups and like let yourself be a beginner. Let yourself be a little playful. That is true fun. And so when you're thinking about that play, that fun piece of this, it's like let yourself be with people. Let yourself have fun. Let yourself be present. Be there in the moment. And
Hmm.
then that really fills your cup, right? That makes that good energy, I think, come
Hmm.
back. And of course, with good energy, I think yes, you should sleep more and you should be active and move your body and you should drink water. I think all of those things are also true.
Right.
I
All
just
those
think,
habits. Hmm.
right, all of those habits are, of course, a part of it. But I
Right.
think as human beings, to feel your soul up with good energy,
Hmm.
it is being here and aware together, enjoying each other. That's where you really can build
Right.
up some
So
endurance.
go into just the shift of the practice of presence outside the phone concept, like just because then you
Mhm.
still have to, once you just get the distractions away, you're still going to have to not work on, but tend to the idea of like how to stay present, how to be like not in your mind, not in a thought, not in a fantasy, not in
Yeah.
what you have to do next. So tell me how you do that.
Well, here's the thing. You might be a better expert on
Mhm.
that than I am because my
Yeah.
presence only goes to as far as you need to be off technology.
Yeah. Okay.
Beyond that, I'm not
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
expert.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Of course, like there's the practices of journaling
Well, yeah. Yeah.
and, like the
Listening
things,
and
listening, right, being aware. But as
clearing your
in terms,
mind, being in your body.
I just tell people my whole thing is you just got to get off the phone. That's a
Yeah.
first and
I mean, that's what we
foremost.
see all around us, right? We see kids at bus
Right.
stops on their phones. We don't see people like looking up at the beautiful sunset and things like that.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so it's just an awareness. I will
Yeah.
tell people this is not this is not hard, it's easy, or it's
Yeah.
not hard, it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. It's the things like standing in line at the grocery store. Don't scroll
Hmm.
on your phone. Just look around and say, like, smile at someone.
Hmm.
Sometimes someone smiling at me makes me feel amazing. You can do that for other people, but if you're constantly looking down, you're not going to be able to. So it's having just like awareness in your space and being around, being available for
Hmm.
connection, even.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to a waiting room
Right.
recently,
Hmm.
everyone is on their phone. No longer do you get to strike up a conversation to say, like, oh, are you here getting glasses? Because no one is going to talk to each
Or on
other
a
because
plane,
they're
like
just
you used to have conversations on planes, and it's pretty quiet, and everyone's like on their phones or watching a movie, like really engaged with their own little world right there. Hmm.
exactly. And
Yeah.
and it makes you think it's connecting us more. Oh, I'm connected to all these people all over the world, or I'm
All the time.
messaging
Yeah.
people,
Mhm.
but it really is not true connection. I mean, I
Right.
think there are benefits to the connection we can get from our phones, but for the
Mhm.
most part, it is disconnecting us from the world around us. And I think that makes us feel lonely, sad, anxious, worried. And we
Yeah.
just
And our
get
insecurities,
almost
comparing ourselves, like,
yeah, we get into our heads almost
mhm.
too much. You're
Right.
too much thinking about
Right.
yourself and you're not actually out there thinking about other people and what you
Mhm.
can do for other people.
Mhm.
You get so self-consumed.
Right. So when you have the Good Energy Club, is it actual club? Like you write posts about that so people can hear about new ways to think about this, or because you have a concept of what is good energy and what isn't good energy.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first built it, it was a keynote. I don't know why I called it a club. I just thought I want people to be
Okay.
in this with me.
Yeah.
And so it really became this keynote that I've given for a few years that I would share with people. But
Mhm.
because I've been sharing it, people will say, "Well, I want to join it. How do I do more of that?" So actually, we are now in the process of building a club. So we are going to be using Substack as a place where we are going to have the content for the club available for free. Anybody out there, anyone listening
Oh.
can join the Good Energy Club on Substack. Coming soon. If you go and look and it's not there, don't worry, it's coming soon. And we will have a membership as well to where you can be in chat and community with people who are practicing this so we can
Hmm.
share our wins and our recognition with each other because I think that's part of this is that connection. And so we're really wanting to share the tips and tricks from people all around the world of how they engage in the habits around fun and connection and
Mm.
presence. So we can help each other to know you're not the only one doing this. There's a whole community of people out there seeking out good energy. And
Hmm.
together we can show each other that this is the thing. And then my hope is to one day have retreats where we can actually be in real life with one another to do these things together, to just
Hmm.
really bolster and fill up our cups so we can go out into the world that is not practicing this mostly, and we can be the beacons of light for the other people out there.
Yeah, great. The beacons of light, sort of finding a place to re-energize yourself and really learn the practices and then do the practices with other people and then keep the practices for yourself as a foundational thing. Great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the spark is the habit.
The spark system is the habits with presence, fun, and
Hmm.
connection.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
is the framework of the Good Energy Club, if you will. So when you're in the
Yeah.
Good Energy Club, those are
Mhm.
the things that we practice.
So I love that you're pulling in community engagement. That's really great. How about that you talked about in your coaching that you start with the Clifton
Clifton
um
Strengths.
yeah, and so tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, Clifton Strengths is an assessment. So you take it and it identifies your top talents. The
Hmm.
idea is that every person is born with innate talent. Now, I think here in America, we often see talent in a physical way, right? We can recognize a kid who's like just naturally good at basketball or
Hmm.
recognize someone who's, really organizing all of their stuffed animals. But we don't necessarily recognize some of those more nuanced innate talents, like being able to get started and go, being able to always do what you say you're going to do, being able to
Mm.
see the uniqueness of the people around you. And that's what Clifton Strengths does. It says, hey, you were born with these talents. And when you really double down on your talents, they become strengths.
Mm.
And you can achieve excellence faster and easier by doubling down on the things you're naturally talented in than
Mm.
taking those things that you're not very good at and trying to do those. And so we say, a lot of times in our society, we get this mantra of like, practice makes perfect and you can do anything you want to do. And we sort of say, that's not necessarily true. Sure, you can do anything you want to do, but if you don't have talent in those things, the best you will become is mediocre or average, and you'll always feel some friction there. And so we really encourage people to find their talents and
Hmm.
then go all in on that. Do things that way. So what is nice about Clifton Strengths is it doesn't tell
Mm.
people what to do, it tells them how to do it.
Mm. Yeah. So also the strengths that you're describing that are the unique strengths, like being motivated, following through, keeping your commitments, like honing into people who have unique qualities. Like those are ones that are never really on the Richter scale, right?
Right.
Especially
Yeah.
now that we're all starting to watch the Olympics, we're like, wow, these are the talents here are like,
Right.
just like superhuman talents, right? So instead of the superhuman talents, like the very unique talents that we have as human beings, and to really pull those out, like notice those, like how you use them, like
Exactly.
that's one of the places that you live is noticing these things about people or, whatever it might be.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I love about Clifton Strengths is it gives us a language. So if we're working with a team or we have
Mm-hmm.
a partner, we can say that ability to see someone's uniqueness, we call that individualization. You can see people
Mm-hmm.
for their individual interests and likes and what they need. You have that sort of sixth sense or intuition about people. And
Yeah.
so then I have a language for it. And if you and I both know it, you can say that's
Mm-hmm.
your individualization. And it allows for that recognition, which we talked about earlier. Recognition is water, not champagne. So much easier because I could say, wow, Susan, on the call today, your
Mm-hmm.
individualization was on fire. The way you could read what Sarah was thinking and follow the next place that she went, that was so incredible. It was a great
Uh-huh.
experience for the listener. It gives us that touch point of how to say it because sometimes that's the hardest part. We like notice it, but we don't have
Yeah.
the words for it. So by
Right,
doing
right,
this
right.
assessment, it gives language around those more nuanced talents that are not speed skating.
So tell me a time that you brought that to someone's attention, like in your personal life, their talent, and they didn't have any idea that that was their talent.
Yeah. Oh, I can use my husband because, of course, I've had my husband take this. We share none of our top 10 strengths in common.
He's one of your clients. He's been
Yeah,
getting
he's
like
one of
free
my,
coaching for years.
but he has the strength, command, and self-assurance. And command is a strength that has a lot
Huh.
of leadership essence. They don't have to be a leader, but they're very good at sort of saying, we're going to do this. I think we should go that way. And he also has self-assurance, which is a strength that it exudes confidence. So inside the person may not be 100% confident, but they're
Right.
very good at saying things. And so the joke I always tell people is the way that those two strengths show up for my husband is, I mean, in many ways, but I always say we could walk into a restaurant that we've never been before, and I could be like, where's the bathroom? I got to go to the bathroom. And my instinct, because I lead with a lot of relationship themes, would be to ask the hostess, excuse me, where's your restroom? My husband, though, can walk into a building he's never been in before and be like, it's back there. And honestly, he's usually right because he's got a good sense about that sort of stuff. But he could just say it, even if it wasn't. He has the ability to just like, the bathroom is that way, and just be so confident and
Assured
concrete
about
about
it. Yeah.
it
So
and
you don't
assured.
you're not going to do that, that insecure thing of asking. You're going to be like, okay, great, thank you. It's
Yes,
like
yes,
it's very
yes.
directed, very directed. Yeah.
He's very
Mhm.
direct. He's very confident. And so we actually, I now you have to be really careful in coaching a spouse. We've had to work through a lot of things
Yes,
because he'll
I'm
be like,
sure.
"Don't coach me." But when we discovered this was his strength, it was pointing it out like this is a superpower of yours because he would find in many of his jobs, we've been together for 12 years. So we have been together for a lot of our working lives. And in a lot of his jobs, he would be sort of thrust into leadership positions that maybe he didn't even want.
Right.
And it was often me saying, this is that command and self-assurance. When you can enter a room and just say,
Mhm.
this is the way we should go, people want to follow that. That is a
Right.
natural leadership presence, and that is part of your talent.
Right.
And so it's recognizing that. But every strength comes with sort of the highlight and the low light, right? They can get us into. Also, when we learn the things we're really good at, we have to sort of be on watch for the blind spots because, of
Yes.
course, with command and self-assurance, if you're always walking in the room being able to be like, this is the way, some people might say, like, wow, he's really intimidating. Wow, I don't know if I can talk to him. Like, he just this present sort of off-putting potentially. So I've also coached him around, like, how do you open it up so people feel welcome to you? Because in your mind, you're thinking, I'm being so welcoming. But this strength just comes off so assured that no people feel like they cannot
Right.
get in and ask questions or give different
Right. It's like
opinions
not
because
approachable or something. Uh-huh.
because you seem like you've already made up your mind.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so it's highlighting this is such a
Mhm.
talent of yours, and also you got to be on the lookout to just balance it.
Right. Develop the other part of it too. So that that part also gets to be welcoming, like really
Yeah.
welcoming. Like, come on in and ask
And
questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can do it in your own
Mhm.
way. So, I've
Yeah.
sort of given him key questions that ways he can phrase things. Like,
Mhm.
here's what I'm thinking. I would be really open to other people's ideas. Or
Right.
here's,
Hmm.
I would, and sometimes I tell him before you give your idea, ask for their ideas first. So just little tips and tricks of getting into the habit
Yeah,
of,
you can still hold the frame of assurance and have that. That's
Mhm.
even doubling the insurance characteristics is if you're really open to hearing what everyone else is saying and you're still really confident in that moment, like of hearing these things.
Exactly,
Creates this
exactly.
openness. One of the
Yeah.
characteristics I notice in people a lot that are in my personal circle is this this ability to be friendly and connect with people easily. And
Mm,
that's sort of back into the idea of the positive energy circle, right? Is
yeah.
it that kind of brings the whole level of the conversation down so that people are comfortable. And then there's
Yeah.
a almost like a disarming, right? And no matter where they are, they just walk in and start talking to whoever, and then suddenly there's like a lot of networking going on. Like even in like, stopping at the gas station and going inside. So that's a strength that I really like to see. And I think the other piece is like to go if you're to go into being more direct about what the questions are about. Like, are you getting the answers? Are you just like in lots of little conversations? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that strength you're describing is
Mm.
probably woo. So it's the only one that's
Oh,
an acronym and it's called winning others over.
uh-huh.
And woo is exactly what you described of being able to walk in a room and talk to people, not fearing strangers. You're going to sit down on an airplane and strike up a conversation with a willing
Right, right,
flight mate. You can,
right.
walk into the elevator and talk to people. Usually,
Mhm.
there are no strangers to woos, just friends they haven't met yet. And
Yeah.
they
Tons of
can be more.
acquaintances.
Yeah, they can be very warm and welcoming and they cast a broad net and can bring a lot of people into their circle. That is a strength that I have. It's actually my number three strength.
Oh,
And so it is one of those superpower ones. And actually, when we talk about Clifton strengths, there are four domains that they all fall into because there's 34 strengths in total, which is a lot of words. So we
yes.
break them into domains, and it's influencing, relationship building, strategic thinking, and executing. And
Uh-huh.
so, actually, woo, command, and
Mhm.
self assurance, all the ones we've talked about here today, are in the influencing domain, which influencing strengths impact energy.
Right.
So, if you have those strengths, you're going to be more likely to change and shift the energy of a room
Hmm.
because those sort of have that superpower.
Right. This is great. I'm gonna ask you to like give me the link of something. Can people take a free test on the Clifton Strengths?
Unfortunately, it is not
No.
free, but you can take a test. So Gallup has their Clifton Strengths
Okay.
assessment available online. And this is the other thing I love about it. Gallup is the one who runs it. So you probably know Gallup. They're the people who call you and take, surveys of the nation and find out who are the happiest people and what are people this.
Right,
And they
right,
survey the workplace. So they have so much
right.
of data on workplace. But they also do the Clifton Strengths assessment. And so what's great is there's so much validity behind it because they spend tons of time and research dollars in making
Right.
sure the science behind this is really on point. But
Hmm.
if you go to their website, you can take it. You can get your top five or your full 34. The top five is cheaper,
Right.
but that will just show you your top five strengths.
Uh-huh.
I really coach around the top 10 strengths. So even though it's more expensive, advise people to get the full 34. Now, if you've gotten your
Yeah.
top five and you want to see the rest of your list, you don't have to retest. There's actually an upgrade code that people
Right.
can purchase that would sort of unlock their whole strengths assessment.
Right. I just think, information is power, right? So
Yeah,
if one of the things that people are feeling like, people who are listening to this are feeling like, hey, I need to really start looking at my relationships and myself in a different way because I'm kind of losing that sense of like, where am I leading my life, right? Then
right.
this might be another way of just getting more information about yourself and
Absolutely.
and just working with that information, and that might be just another aspect of how you get out of a rut that you're in or a stuck place that you're in.
Absolutely. And I'm
Mhm.
currently developing a sort of the Good Energy Club 2.0
Mm-hmm.
workshop that includes Clifton Strengths into the Spark system with the Good Energy
Oh,
Club because it's
uh,
exactly like you said. For someone
mhm.
like me, I lead with positivity, woo, communication, activator, all of these strengths. They do naturally incline me to seek out the habits of connection, fun,
Oh,
really.
okay, all right,
Not
those
so much
strengths
the
lead you
presence
there.
one, but I
Uh-huh.
am naturally inclined to seek those out. So I always say that, yeah, the being born a good energy person, that was
Mhm.
true to a certain extent. I do have talents that make these habits easier for me to practice, but not every day. I'm human. So some days I wake up
Right.
and I'm like, crap, I have to MC a 700 person event today and I don't even want to get out of bed.
Right, right.
That
That's what I
day,
was going to
I
ask you
have
is when do you need a boost and recharge your energy? Because I know positivity is there and it's a good strength to have, but it can't always be there.
Exactly. I'm still human. And so that's a great example. I had earlier this year a 700
Mhm.
person event. I was emceeing. I was literally hired for my energy that I could bring to the room. And for whatever reason, middle of winter, I wake up that day. I don't feel 100%. I just felt like, "Bleh." And I knew, I was like, crap, I have to turn this around. This is too much at stake for me to go through the day like this. And so I did. I said, okay, I know what to do. Right. And so I had to go get my nails done and I talked to the people getting my nails done. This is my connection point, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
then I volunteered in my son's classroom. He's in second grade. Tons of fun to be with second graders and talking to
Nice.
them
Okay, so
and
you went into
engaging.
fun
Yeah,
mode.
so I went into fun and had fun with them. Told myself, you're not being on your phone. You're not just going to sit in bed and doom scroll all day until you get there. That is going to, so it's putting my phone away. And I did all those things and I did. I built my energy back up. And that's one of the things I tell people is good energy is built. It's not bought. Just going on a expensive vacation to Mexico isn't going to necessarily boost your energy. It's not
Right?
just a given. Even if you have strengths like mine that tend toward it, you're not just going to always be given a good energy day. Good
Right.
energy is built, which means anybody, any personality type, any talent makeup, anywhere that you're from in the world, you can build your good energy, whether you want to do that every day or on those days where it counts, because how
Mhm.
you show up is going to impact the opportunities that you receive in those moments, finding a way to connect with people around you, have a little bit of fun, and gosh darn it, staying off of technology as much as
Yeah,
possible, it's
right.
going to bolster how you go into those rooms that really matter for you.
Right. I like that idea about built versus bought. Like, going on a vacation is like it's going to be served to you, right? But are you going to be able to retain it? That vacation energy you get home, like, can it last a little bit longer?
Yeah,
That feeling that I'm just bringing back home. Yes, if you keep building on it, right? So in your daily
exactly.
life, act like you're a little bit on vacation every day in your daily life too, if you want to keep that
Absolutely.
energy, the vacation energy going. So that's good for me to hear you say that example is like built, not bought, that through connection you get it back, and you have to really consciously make a shift of what is your next action. So I'm going back to always to the couple because we're in that month theme that I'm working on
Yeah.
this month, which is the idea of like I always think about is there one person's energy that dominates the relationship that could be the downer or the upper, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it doesn't really matter as long as you're building your own habits to stay in your own good energy, right? So if your good energy is not taken away from you, you don't allow it to be taken away from you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for example, like you could have stayed in bed that day and allowed your energy
Right.
to be like, okay, we're going to stay in this energy and we're actually going to make it worse,
Right.
right? Instead of no, 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 I am going to take some steps to get out. I mean, they might not be huge steps. I'm not going to be like climbing a mountain or anything, but I'm going to be
Right.
doing these like, do some self-care, connect to the people that I'm doing self-care with. I'm just gonna lighten up here, go to a place where I'm with kids that just make me be in the present. You're naturally in the present with kids because they're like trying to figure out to
Mm-hmm.
tie their shoe or eat their snack or something, and you're in that world instantly out of your world of heaviness into a light world. So
Yeah.
all of those things, it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as
No,
really simple, like walking out and talking to your neighbor, when you see them
exactly.
there, or digging in your garden and someone comes by as they're walking down the street and likes your, flowers that you're doing or whatever. So it could be that easy.
Absolutely. And that's what I want
Mhm.
people to know is that good energy is bought or is not bought, it's built, and you are in control of it. We are
Mhm.
not just victims of how we wake up every day. We are in control of it.
Right,
And so put yourself in the driver's seat of your life and say,
right.
what can I do today? And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be going on a retreat or a vacation. Those things are great. I love those. Definitely do
Yeah,
those.
definitely.
But what
Yeah.
about on a Tuesday when you just have work to do? You have family obligations.
Right,
It's tapping into those little things.
right.
I also talk to people about positive mental time travel, which is the
Okay, so this will
idea.
be I was going to ask you the question of a tiny practice for listeners. So maybe this will be
Yes.
it.
Yes, positive mental time travel. It is this idea that our senses can take us back to a time and place. So, listening to a song from a different time in your life can make you feel like you're there. Smelling something. When I was a freshman in college, I always brewed French vanilla Folgers coffee. I don't know why, but I always had it.
Yeah.
To this day, if I walk into like a church or a building and they have that coffee on, I'm immediately like transported into my dorm room freshman year. And so use that trick. What can you smell? What can you see? What can you hear that's going to take you back to a time and place that you loved, that you were having fun, that you felt connected? And then allow yourself to be there. So when you're doing laundry, use positive mental time travel to think about, listen to the song that you loved when you were in high school
Right.
and you were with all your girlfriends. Listen to that song and think about that and
Mm.
fold your laundry. You are going to leave that domestic chore so much more lighter because in your head you were somewhere else. You were somewhere with those
Right.
things happening in
Yes.
your life.
I call that memory stacking, that you
Mm-hmm.
get into a memory that's a positive memory because it's so easy to start your day with, okay, I have all these things to do, laundry and this and that, instead of reminding yourself of some positive memory and then adding another one, so that again, you're in that memory, that
Yeah.
warm connecting memory that isn't about the maybe the negative take your mind is going, right? Because you can choose where
Yeah.
you want your mind to
Mm-hmm.
go and what's going to be more helpful. So I think that's a really brilliant one. It's like anytime you're going into a place, let yourself go there. That's like another place of
Yeah.
almost like relaxing the part of your intense negative mind that might be like chores, difficult, hard, don't
Mm-hmm.
want to like Folgers coffee. I'm going into this place. Okay, I'm already in a good space headspace now around that.
Yeah. The
Mm,
only other tip I would give real quick is, I consider myself a natural fun maker. I know not everyone is that way. Not everyone is an extrovert, but I would say that even introverts need this formula. They need connection.
mhm.
They need to be with people. And so I encourage people to find the fun makers in their life, even if they are a fun maker. You know those people that when you're with them, they bring that good energy. They bring it because energy is contagious, both bad energy and good energy. So if this is hard for you, if these things feel really frictiony, then
Yeah,
you need to seek out people who are going to make it easier. So find
mhm.
someone, and even if you're not that good of a friend with them now, invite them out. Spend more time with them. My
Right.
example of this is I had tickets to Taylor Swift during the Eras tour. I was so blessed and I got
Yeah.
2 tickets and I had no idea who I was going to take with me. But like I knew I'm not taking my husband. He is not going to enjoy it. And I had a bunch of friends, but I
Yeah.
thought about my friends and I thought, what experience do I want to have? I want to be able to go
Yes.
in there and be goofy and silly and sing every song and dance and just feel light. And I knew I needed to pick a fun maker. So I have this friend named Christina. She is a fun maker. And so I said to her, I'm like, will you come to this concert with me? She was thrilled and sort of like, why are you picking me? I'm like, because you're the vibe I want to have. And
Nice.
and we went and it was so much fun. And part of that was being with someone who contributed. So
Right.
my good energy impacted her and her good energy impacted
Mhm.
me. And we were able to just vibe on this higher level because of that contagious energy. So if it's not you, this isn't as easy or natural to you, that's okay. Tap
Yeah.
into the people around you who it is and
Right.
feed off of their good energy.
I think that's a really great tip. Is like there's also a choice of who you surround yourself with. So, in your life, you can find your fun makers, or your
Exactly.
easy energy people. I have a few energy people that they play well.
Yeah.
If I go and spend a little bit of time with them, all of a sudden we're like it's an adventure. We're like, checking things out. It's easy, it's fun, it's always bubbly. So, think about what the energy that you want to create. And especially
Exactly.
like in partnership too, is like, okay, I'm working with somebody's energy. They might be stressed out, but what energy do I want to create with them if I'm with them? Right?
Yeah, and I think it's not letting their stressed out negative energy bring you down because that can happen, right? If energy is contagious and you're in a
Right.
partnership, one of you has good energy and one of you, for whatever reason, is not bringing good energy. I almost think that the bad energy is much more contagious than the good
Oh,
energy
it's a
at
stronger
times.
energy vibe for sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so you have to be really careful to not let that tank the entire relationship because someone is going through a difficult season or a difficult time or just is
Right.
not that person. they could bring it down for everyone.
Mhm.
And so it's being really intentional of how can I, and knowing, I always also tell people, you can't change other people. Good energy comes from inside. You can influence them. It is contagious,
Yeah.
but you can't
Mhm.
actually change them. And so you have to also be aware that like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So you can
Right.
invite them into it, but
Right.
if you're constantly trying to change their energy, there's a good chance that
Mhm.
they won't be very receptive
But
to it.
here's the presence thing again, because it's really awareness. I always feel like presence is also awareness and acceptance. So I
Mm-hmm.
always find like with people that I surround myself with, not everybody does the fun energy thing, but there might be certain things that they do that I really can connect with them in a really positive way. So they might be the person I go to the movies with, or the person I take a walk with. They might not be the person I go to a Taylor Swift concert with or have a dinner party with, because I know that's going to be like make me stressed out to be around them,
Yeah.
because I'm going to be pulling them up or organizing them or like, keeping my energy really high to keep their energy with me. So I really pick and accept where people are energetically and kind of what activities I can do with them that keeps me in the
Mm-hmm.
in the place I want to be.
Yeah.
So I often think about that for people in their lives, not to like have the same expectations for everybody, but to
Mm-hmm.
really accept who the people are that are around you, right? And how
Yeah.
you can interact with them so that you don't have to like, be that protector of your own energy all the time, because that's also not playful if you're protecting your
Right.
own energy all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
well,
That's great.
this was a great talk. I hope that people will hear the parts that they can do for themselves and just the mind shift that they can actually allow themselves to go into just easily, effortlessly. So what I hope the audience does is just pick those things that they resonated with and see if they can practice them for a little bit and see if they work.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. And just try it out. If you're
Mhm.
curious and interested, if it'll work for you, just pick one. I always say 1% is better than nothing. We don't need to do
Right,
100%. We don't need a total rehaul of your whole life.
right.
Just pick one thing to try this
Hmm.
week to do and see if it
Right.
helps.
Right. And these talks are great, the talk that I'm doing with you, Sarah, because it's just introducing some new ways of thinking about staying in good energy and connecting with yourself and others in the ways that you want to have your life be in your
Yeah.
partnerships and your family and your social life and your work life. So it's just so relevant to the work that I'm doing, and I just love the work that you're doing. It's so contagious. And I really appreciate all that you've said today. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on with me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me. It was so fun to talk to you about this, and I appreciate everything you're doing to spread good energy and good words and wisdom to the people
Yes.
out there.
Yes. So I'm sure it won't be the last time we talk. So thanks again for taking the time.
Yes, bye.